Alright, scoreboard for war number 9, and boom, let's just start with the big upset. Not really a big upset, but GT40 loses their first loss of the season, and it's noon. I did say last video that these two were due for a rematch. They matched in War 1. I can't remember what the score was, but GT40 won. I think it was like 1-4. But Noon lately has just been rolling. I think that they had a war with 7 deaths sprinkled somewhere in between their last 5 wars or so, but otherwise they've been just almost automatic. So anyway, Noon improves to 8-1, GT40 drops to 8-1, and then JA, they went into this war 6-2, so they improved to 7-2, but they just don't die. They still have not died, or they've still died fewer times than Noon, I think by like 2 or 3 deaths, something very, very close. But another 1 death clear, and then TCN. TCN has been clearing fairly strong, but they've been getting beat by the other top alliances. So they clear with a 3, and they still lose. That's really unfortunate. But it's hard to feel sorry for those guys, and for those in the know in the community, I think you understand what I'm referring to. Anyway, moving along, DSVG, mollywops SSX 3-18. DSVG kind of getting back on track, maybe. Not sure. We will see what happens this next war. But XK9 continues their really incredible season. They're up to 8-1 again. They are one of only 3 8-1 alliances, tied with GT40 and New Nation. So 4-13 against HCK. Salty, I guess, gets back at it. They had a rough war last war, but the previous 3 they had died 4 or fewer times. They get back to 4, and they beat Sweeta's alliance. And then Legion wins on a tie against SGA 6-6. And then let's move our eyes to the top right corner. LVT versus 4Loki. And 4Loki pulls out the win. So LVT, you know, that's obviously my alliance. If you're not familiar, I was the leader of 4Loki for a long time. I was there for almost 5 years, I think 4.5 years. And yeah, so we were definitely geared up for this matchup. It seems like 4Loki was just a little bit more geared up for the matchup, and they take the victory. 4Loki's previous season low in deaths was 8, so they cut that in half. Just any given Sunday type of thing, and good for those guys. I mean, they definitely earned it. They had a really, really good clear. So let's get into the rankings update, and I'm sure the New Nation guys are going to be a little disappointed, but they stay at 3. JA stays at number 2. Of course, GT40 stays at 1. And it's just because JA has a little bit stronger efficiency. I think in total throughout the season they've died like 3 or maybe 4 fewer times than New Nation. GT40 has died about 23 to 25 fewer times than JA. So GT40 is still they're still the strongest alliance in the game by this spreadsheet. And you know, New Nation, their strength of schedule from the algorithm shows 4th. But it is worth mentioning they're the only alliance that has fought GT40 twice, and they split against them 1-1. So this is kind of one of those situations where New Nation probably is the second best alliance in the world right now, but you know, the numbers are the numbers, and that's just kind of how it shakes sometimes. So anyway, you guys can pause and check out the rest of the top 10 here, but let's move on to the 11 to 20 bracket here. And the biggest movers are going to be 4Loki up to, they're 4-5, they're 13th in efficiency, 13th in strength of schedule. PYCB, they're up 4 from 20. They just had a really strong clear. They improved to 5-4. They're still only 19th in efficiency and 21st in strength of schedule. And then LVT, I mean, what can you do, man? We dropped 3 spots from 14 to 17. And look, you know, it is my alliance. I probably do have a bias. But, I mean, you guys can kind of see there. I mean, we're the only alliance on this page in the single-digit range for efficiency. We have not died that much relative to a lot of these other alliances. It does show that our strength of schedule has been fairly weak, but we've really gotten unlucky, and I want to kind of talk a little bit about that. And again, this might sound like whining, and if that's how you interpreted it, that's totally fine. But I'm just kind of explaining why we're 4-5. We did have one war where we missed 2 fights. We cleared the other alliance by over 11 deaths in the differential department. And we lost that war, obviously. We matched X5E, and we lost that by 1. We had 2 disconnects, recorded disconnects in our first war. We ended up losing that by 2. And in the 4 Loki war, we also had a recorded disconnect against a penny. Is actually just the penny bug. The game crashed right as the attacker entered the fight. And we did have them beat on fight duration. So we would have won that tiebreaker if not for the disconnect. To my knowledge, they did not have any disconnects. So it's just been kind of just a really unlucky season for us. And, you know, ultimately, these rankings don't mean... They mean what you want them to mean, you know? They don't have any effect on anything in the game. So... you know, it doesn't really matter that we dropped 3 spots in this, but just to give further context to our season, it's obviously been incredibly disappointing. But ultimately, we've been decent. You know, I do think that we're probably, you know, at least knocking on the door of a top 10 alliance, and hopefully we can see that through next season. But it just hasn't really been our season. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like and a comment. Let me know what you think about the, about the new rankings, and if you're in Noon, let me know how disappointed you are. I'm sure that you guys are bummed out. But you guys can also access the full data through the link in the description box, and you can kind of see how each category is scored. And, once you kind of get the full view, it starts to be pretty clear why some of these rank changes happen. But anyway, all right, that's enough. I will see you guys in the next update.